It's 3:30. Let's get things underway. So my name is Daniel Morris Jeffrey. I'm the event manager for the Royal Academy of Culinary Arts. It's my great pleasure to reintroduce to you Sam Ward, who's managing director of Umbel Restaurant Group. Sam joined us a couple of weeks ago to discuss his involvement with the Annual Awards of Excellence, where he won the Young Waiter of the Year back in 2011. Which if you have missed, you can view that again. It's on our Instagram page. But today, Sam will be giving a masterclass on career development. So if you've got any questions, again, as you already know, please use the chat feature, or please leave them to the end of the session, and we'll go from there. So yeah, please, Sam, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Dale. Just a sort of starting note, thank you so much for having me again, and I very much enjoyed the session last time. It's always a real honour to be on a call face to face with people that I admire and look up to so heavily. So I was really pleased to be on that. Today I was racking my brains on a masterclass to do on what should I do, what can I showcase for people, and there's lots of amazing talents already being showcased through the Academy of Culinary Arts, and so I thought I'd try to focus in on something that I spend a lot of time working on in our company. And it's not always something at the forefront of certainly young people's minds. I don't really think any of this advice is going to in any way help any of our academians that join this call. But it was more for some of the youngsters, and with particular relevance to those kind of making that transition as well from operational on the floor and maybe going into a slightly more management role on the floor as well. And often you see huge amounts of training around what they're doing on the floor, but not necessarily the management style. I say this to the team all the time: being an incredible chef doesn't give you management skills necessarily, and being a great manager doesn't make you a great chef. But for you to go from chef de partie to that sort of more senior role and move through the ranks, particularly to head chef, I think we really need to focus our attention on the management schools. As you said, I'm currently the managing director and partner of Umbel Restaurant Group, and I say currently because life's always a journey, and hopefully constantly moving forwards. We have restaurants, like you said, in Cartmel, Lake District, Windermere, Hong Kong, London, with more to be announced shortly. We also take care of a lot of events. So these are also great ways for us to develop careers for people by doing events, something a bit different. It is safe to say that our team will be nothing without the culture of drive and development within it, and encouraging people to really think and focus about moving to that next step in their career. It's only by having this ambitious team of people with an ambitious culture can we be ambitious as a group. So I thought by taking the opportunity to talk about this to a wider audience, then maybe some people might be able to advance their career 10% quicker, or 100% quicker, or 1,000. I mean, the more effort you put into it, the more you can see the results. So the masterclass is for anyone really driven on moving forwards. If some people, not everyone's that way inclined, and that's okay, that's absolutely fine. But for anyone inclined on driving forwards, this masterclass is for them. And it's also hopefully a way of driving the industry forwards, that we're all focusing on people's careers as well, because by focusing more on people's careers, employers have to shift some of their kind of priorities as well. And there's many different ways to build a career. So in the same way, there's many different ways to build any structure. You need strong foundations throughout so that you can build a strong career that will stand the test of time. And I've seen too many people build a career on a few very small skill sets rather than a breadth of abilities, which ultimately does not pay off in the long run. A common example of this on the front of house is maybe relying on your personability rather than your skill set. And although attitude and likability go a long way on the floor, they will not replace great product awareness, great section management, and keeping high standards in the long run. They will get you so far, and then you'll fall by the wayside. So whether you're a commie waiter aiming for the CDR position or a restaurant manager trying to grow your skills, having a clear vision of how to develop your career will help you move forward at a more aggressive rate. And you might be able to do in 10 years what others take 20 or 30 to do. So the most important question if you've sort of decided, yes, I care about my career, yes, I want to move forwards, is where are you trying to get to? And I cannot stress the importance of this point enough. It is imperative that you have an idea. I'm not saying an exact, but an idea of what you want your life to be like in the long run. And it's not just about the next promotion or job role. Where people go wrong is that they plan a really one-dimensional career goal. Examples of this are, I want to be a GM, I want to be an RM, I want to be a head chef. Goals like this can make you blind to the fact that any promotion is a step in the right direction, which isn't always the case. The amount of times I've seen people work hard for years, sidestepping to this company and that company and just spending a lot of time working and moving, but not really moving forwards, all because they were offered a couple of quid or had manager in the title. And inevitably, when you're growing your career successfully, you will enter into management at some point. So you should start to think about working in an environment that will help you grow your management skills as well as your skills in the restaurant or in the kitchen. It's not just about having these career goals. I think that's where sometimes people can go wrong and often burn out, is by just putting all their eggs in one basket. Think about what kind of life you want to lead, because you only get one. So hospitality exists in every country in the world, pretty much. So think about where you want to work, what activities you'd like to partake in outside of work. If you love nightclubs and theatres, do not come and live in the Lake District, because we are not going to be able to help with that. But if you love rock climbing, if you love wakeboarding, skydiving, hiking, that kind of thing, then that's a venue that you should sort of choose. Decisions like this will make you ultimately more fulfilled as a person and lead to a mental stability that will help you more productive in your time at work. And I used to get this really wrong. I used to sort of be trying to hire people in the lakes and go, yeah, it's great. Yeah, oh, loads of clubs. Yeah, come on up. And it just doesn't work. It doesn't work for anyone. So you've got to find a space that works for you. Whereas now when we look on someone's CV and go, oh, enjoys horse riding, this person's going to enjoy living around here. There's a racetrack next door. That's perfect. So the next stage, if you've sort of analysed the fact that you should have a goal, is what kind of goals should a career-minded professional be thinking about having? So we've sort of already said what makes you happy. There's a really interesting study by the Harvard Business University about happiness versus success, and I'm not going to go too into detail, but the problem with having our goals set purely on promotion is that when we achieve those promotions, we feel happy, but then that doesn't last. You've done it, so you've got to go next. And it's like this continual gateway drug of needing more and more and more. It's not just about promoting up the ladder, it's about growing yourself. So many of you out there will be familiar with the term mission statement, which is normally a 1 or 2 sentence statement within which the leaders of an organization or a company will define the direction with which they wish to head in. And this statement is all encompassing. It sits on every decision that you make throughout your company, to make sure that every time you do anything, you're focused on achieving that mission, as opposed to just blindly making decisions left, right, and center. So rather than setting yourself a 5-year goal based solely around working on this position, think more about making a mission statement for your life, a mission statement for yourself, and incorporate your career into it. So to try to make this more tangible and understandable and not just jargon and waffle, I put 2 different business sort of mission statements together that would apply to a chef. So one example of a mission statement, which is a really good mission statement, would be, I want to become a strong, capable leader with the confidence and financial awareness to run a high-end kitchen while spending time with my family and ultimately open my own venue. That's a great mission statement to have, and it sounds like a great life. And as long as you focus on it, you'll be able to do it. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Another completely different mission statement for your life and your career might be to grow your skill set as a chef whilst experiencing as many different cultures worldwide as possible to take within maybe a position in a beach resort, a 5-star beach resort in the long run. 2 very different mission statements in life, but if you make them and head towards them, you're going to have more chance of getting there. So we're going to break that down a little bit, because these goals are so different and you need to break it down into those steps. Whenever I'm talking to any of the team about the next step in their career, we're not really talking about the next step in their career. We're talking about, does that get you closer to the step after? If it doesn't, it's the wrong step. Everybody is very easily swayed. So it's really important to keep your head in the right direction. So these career steps, by breaking down that goal, it's much easier to make solid moves towards it. And it's important at this stage as well to think very carefully about your employer, because especially, 2021, employers are waking up a lot more now to thinking about the well-being of their teams. So you should be asking, I'm sort of saying this now down the camera to the people that are trying to drive their careers forwards. Your employer is a custodian of your career. You're giving them 1 to 2 to 3 to 5 to 10 years of your career. So you've got to ask them really clearly, and you're more than within your rights to ask them, how are you going to help me achieve my goals, my mission statement? Now, you can't be outlandish in this and unrealistic, but normally an employer is going to respond really well to this. Here's someone that's driven. Here's someone that knows where they want to go. Yeah, we'll help you get in line with that. So in your very first interview, you can say to potential employers with your questions, this is my mission statement. I'm going to break it down, and it's their responsibility as well as yours to help you grow. So if we take a look at those mission statements that I just spoke about and break them down into these key steps. So the first chef, it could be a chef, it doesn't have to be a chef, but it could be a chef, said, it wants leadership, financial awareness, high-end kitchens, family time, venue opening. And then the second chef seems like a bit more of a chilled out guy. We'll go, improve culinary skills, see different cultures around the world, beaches. That's what we want. So looking at those steps broken down, it's very clear to see that by getting a job on a high-end yacht, traveling the world and making connections with 5-star beach resorts, investors, because people going on the yacht could be investors in your next business. Well, that's not going to help the first chef very much, but it could help the second person immensely. Now, the amount of times I speak to these people, what are you doing? Oh, I'm working on a yacht. Great. What's your plan? Oh, I'm going to open up a venue. What, on land? Okay, not getting a great amount of experience for that then, are you? It's not helping you get towards where you need to go to. And just a reminder here, I'm talking about aggressively growing your career. I'm not saying you can't go off and do whatever you want, but if you want to keep focused, it's really important. So the first chef will need to think a lot more carefully. And again, just as this example, and I'm really happy to throw out any advice to anyone out there if they wanted to get in touch and say, these are my goals, how do I get there? The first chef will need to think much more carefully about how they are going to get to where they want to get to. It's likely they'd want to find a head chef that inspires them as a leader. And that's so important. We don't often do this. We choose the venue, we choose the food, we choose the brand, but look at the people that you are going to work with, because every day they are going to inspire you. I can't remember whether it's Newton's third law. I'm going to say Newton's third law to sound like I know what I'm talking about, but it could be a second. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If you surround yourself with dynamic, driven leadership, you will embrace that. And if you surround yourself with the wrong type of leadership, then you'll embrace that. Like, people are pretty malleable in that respect. So if you find a leader that inspires you, then they can mold your leadership style with them, and will be really open to doing that. If you want to know more about finance, then ensure your employer is aware from day one in your interview that you would like to understand the financial side of operating a kitchen. He's not going to open the P&Ls to you. That's fair enough, but they might let you know that you need to focus on, gross profit. That's really important, or wage costs, or holding stock, or, supplier relationships, or something like that, and just start opening your eyes to these things. It may involve some mentorship from the finance department, or an external course in financial management. That could work. So if you want to learn how to open your own venue, look for a company that's opening venues. It's an age-old thing we say in this business. If you're going to open up a restaurant, do it on someone else's money first. Learn the mistakes that everybody makes. So if you're hell-bent on opening a venue, and we do this quite a bit, if there's people that really want to open a venue, they come and open something with us and go, no, I'm good. I'm not going to do that again. That's horrendous, because it's not easy. So go through it first, and you can get these experiences with employers if you put yourself forwards. If you are going to open your own restaurant, I highly recommend consultancy or mentorship before you do anything as silly as that on your own. But that's another story. So, and then the other thing is, if you want to spend time with your family, which is not an unreasonable request, then speak to people within that organization that you're moving to and go, hey, they say this, do they do this? Ask to speak to some of the team. So with just a small amount of thought about the direction of your career, you can ensure that you make these considered decisions in which to grow in the right direction. Nothing I'm saying on this masterclass is rocket science. It's not mind-blowing stuff, but the amount of people that just do not focus their attention on driving themselves forwards and then wonder where the last 5 years went. So that's important. So once you have identified where you're trying to get to and the individual steps to take, then that's kind of high level stuff. I know I want to be this person one day. I know I'm going to have to take these kinds of jobs to get there. So the next thing is, what about every day? How do we get stronger every day in order to ensure that we keep moving forwards? And so this is about developing your own style. And I'm going to get a tiny bit psychological about this, because if you speak to anyone in our management training programs, they'll know that I absolutely love and I'm fascinated with the psychology of service and the psychology of people. Because understanding the human psyche a little bit more, we can understand a lot more about our own growth and about our management styles and about how to give our guests a fantastic experience in the restaurants. The beauty of this in hospitality is that everything about hospitality is 90% people-based. It's based around human interaction with human beings. So you've got guests walking through your doors all day. You've got teams around you all day, suppliers coming in and out. We are surrounded by human interaction in hospitality. And we might think that this is normal. It's not normal. In most working environments are not surrounded by human interaction all day, every day. They might be very rarely seeing people. So this level of human interaction gives us an opportunity to grow our people skills. And it stands to reason that the more we can understand the basic psychology of others, then the more we can work out how to deliver an incredible service day in, day out, and the more you can develop your management style. So at this point, I'm slightly shifting towards the career development of moving into management, which I think is wholly psychological. I really do. It's everything. Realistically, if you've got a great chef at any level, that's great. But the difference between them and a great head chef is their ability to lead people. And there's a few other things, but I think people management is everything. So if we, without veering into the masterclass too much of people management, there's a few key things that I want everyone to know to develop themselves every day, and take them or leave them. You don't have to do these things, but these are the things that I find pretty crucial. Self-awareness, not something that often gets taught in a restaurant environment. Self-awareness. It is so easy for us to pass judgment on the people around us, and we all do this and all did this in restaurants. Oh, he's doing this. Oh, I shouldn't be doing that. However, how many people actually take stock every day or once a day or at the end of the day and go, was that the right thing to do? Did I say that in the right way? How did I come across in that conversation? If I was on the receiving end of that, how would I have been perceived as a manager? We just fly through going, oh, we got it right. And it's like proofreading, right? Like if you've ever tried to proofread your own work, you go, I can't spell the word necessary. I've never been able to spell it. I keep trying. I just can't spell the word necessary. But I'll write it wrong, proofread it and go, yeah, let's bang on that. Absolutely lovely. Because the human brain doesn't like to acknowledge its own mistakes. And so that's why you always give it to someone else to proofread, and then they get the big red pen out and just destroy everything that you did. So try and be your own red pen is what I'm saying. So you see these individuals that were great in their roles, quick to judge those in management above them. Then when they're in the shoes of those managers, they make exactly the same mistakes without stopping to realize that they've become the very thing they disliked in the first place. And that's because they were under the same pressures, the same conditions. And human beings, we're not all special. We are quite malleable to the surroundings we're in. I see these people managing like they're monarchs, and the important thing there is just to remember you're trying to be respected, not liked. It's great if you can do both, but fundamentally you need the team's respect. So there's a tangible exercise that I can try and give to people. This is something I've done for a few years. Never really told anyone about this. Hopefully I won't come across like an absolute oddball, but I've always tried to imagine that there's a CCTV camera floating around me, and if I was to sort of look back at that footage of myself and watch what I was doing, would I approve of my actions, my tone of voice, and the way I approached someone? Would the me watching it 5 years ago, the me from 5 years ago, would they look at that now and go, yeah, that's the manager you were trying to be, that's the guy you said that you're going to try and become? And it's okay to get it wrong. Jesus, I mean, you get it wrong all the time, but just a little bit of acknowledgement. If you can learn to criticize yourself constructively, then this goes a huge way towards self-improvement. I'm not trying to put anyone to a sort of vat of depression with this. It's just keeping yourself in check rather than waiting for another manager to come along and keep you in check. If you can master that art, your growth is exponential. So the second thing and I think a lot of people in the Academy of Culinary Arts would advocate for this, is identify the great management around you. So if have you ever had this person that just, as a manager, inspires you and inspires the people around you, and you remember them, and then there's other people not doing that for you? That person seems to know the right thing to say, and that even when they're telling somebody that they've done something wrong, they do so in a way that shows care and respect, and they go through the why it was wrong, not just, hey, don't do this. You know, it's no secret that some people just seem to have this skill of positive, engaging management, but don't be fooled into thinking that they were born with it, because most people are not born with it. There's the odd one or two, and I bow down to them, but most people, it's a practiced skill. Something they've studied, learned. We had a manager working with us for a while, and he was reading every management book known to man. And he would walk in and shake your hand differently one day. And you're going, have you been reading Dale Carnegie? Yeah, you have, yeah. Because he would just take these techniques that he would learn in the books and then practice them. It's just like carving a Dover sole or managing business finance. It's like any skill in the restaurant floor. You just got to practice it. So when you identify with a manager that you aspire to, tell them, say, like, how are you doing what you're doing? How are you managing the way you are? Take note of what they're doing that you agree with, and ask them how they came to be a strong manager. And any good manager worth their salt would love to spend their time talking to you about that. It's bordering on mentorship there, but it's a great thing to do. I don't know a good manager worth their salt that wouldn't add extra hours onto the day to help showcase someone how to be a stronger manager in themselves. And just a short conversation with the right people, with the right questions, can shift your mindset forever. This isn't necessarily on people management or on career development, but just a small example of this story. One of our business partners is the Liu Collection, and the owner of that is a guy called Analjit Singh. So when I say business partners, it's his hotel that we operate in. And as part of the deal, I managed to wangle some time with him. This is a very wealthy, very experienced businessman, very nonchalant, and he's just captivating with the way he talks to people. So I got an hour with him, and I don't think I could have ever afforded that hour if it wasn't part of the deal. And I went in armed with 10 questions for this hour, and I thought about them all really, really carefully. And I didn't get halfway through the first question, because everything he said about the first half, well, he told me I was wrong for asking the question in the first place, and shifted my mindset. And the question I had was in two parts. Mr. Singh, you are an incredible judge of character based on the past decisions you've made, and you must be able to know the weaknesses in people and what they're not capable of. And the second half of the question was, what weaknesses have you seen in me, and what should I grow in? Or where should I grow? He stopped me after the first half and spent a whole hour telling me that was the wrong way to look at people. You don't walk into a room assuming anyone's not capable of anything. You walk into a room assuming everyone is capable of everything you set them out to do. And that way you're pulling them up, not pulling them down. Mind blown, 1 hour, 9.5 questions unanswered. So if you see managers that you aspire to be, grab them, beg for their time, say, I'll make the cappuccino, and sit them down. And you will learn a lot if you ask the right questions. And the last one is one that people have different opinions on, but if you're trying to grow your career, particularly in management, be aware of your weaknesses, but focus on your strengths. A lot of people just focus on their strengths and drive forwards, but do be aware of your weaknesses. It may sound like a depressive way of thinking, but it's by far the quickest way to make changes in yourself for the better. Just know what you're not good at. I'm not amazing at organization, if I'm honest, organizing myself and my time. So I spend a lot of time trying to get better at that. And I see big changes in my productivity day to day. I know what I'm good at. Hopefully they're going to stay strengths, just keep them in check. So just be aware of your weaknesses and keep a check in them. And so the reason fundamentally why I chose to do this as a masterclass in career development was because I think this is more important than ever right now, today. This is right important, not necessarily for the next 10 years, but right now. The last year has been incredibly difficult for hospitality. And inevitably, most companies have been working very, very hard just to survive. And that's the truth. I think we all know that. And so solid, balanced career development has not been at the forefront of many employers' minds. And I get that. But it means it's created a mental stagnation for a lot of people. And so now is the time to fight aggressively for your future and build a dream career. Now is the time to step it up a notch and go, well, I've not been promoted in the last year, or I've not learned a new skill set in the last year because nothing's happened in that last year. So now's the time to put maybe even more effort. So, and the only other thing I was going to say about career development on a sort of closing note was that being a part of organizations, of peer organizations like the Royal Academy of Culinary Arts is an outstanding way to keep pushing yourself and not just impress your peers, but maybe one day, maybe even inspiring, the next sort of generation. And so just, good luck to everyone pushing their careers out there. If you don't focus on it, you won't get as far as quickly. That's the main message. Half the battle is thinking, I need to think about my career. That's half the battle. And the other half is everything we've spoken about. So good luck. And if anyone has any questions now or in the future, don't hesitate to contact me on Instagram on a direct message. More than happy to chew the cud with anyone.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sam.